Alright guys, welcome to week 2 of Kaijus 2026. If you're just joining us in this video and you're confused as to what that actually means, don't worry about it. Just be sure to check out our previous videos from the Kaijus 2026 playlist to get the full rundown of what this challenge is all about. Today we're going to look at my newest 7 illustrations from this week of the Kaijus challenge. As with last week, I'll also be doing some readings of the lore that I wrote to accompany each illustration. Each new piece I make during this month's challenge expands on the world and story of the Roiling Revelry, the Accelerationists and the Stewards, and a mysterious new player known as Ouroboros. Wonder what they could be up to. At the end of the video, we're going to share with you all some of our favorite fan submissions from this challenge that were posted to our Unveil community. Some of these are really amazing, and I can't wait to share them with you. So, let's not waste any more time and jump into week 2 of Kaijus 2026. Day 8. Seismic. In 1921, after the end of the war, a Goliath known as Zhaoshan was finally destroyed after terrorizing rural Chinese communities for several years. Vibrating its massive wings, it sent tremors through its legs and into the ground, creating a cacophonous clamor that shattered eardrums and shook the very earth. With its body destroyed, the problem was deemed solved. That was until it was discovered that Zhaoshan had been laying thousands of eggs, shifting the earth to inject its brood deep below the surface. Chinese stewards were eager to collect these eggs for research, to learn more about the Goliaths, and for the potential value they might present on the market. The minority population of accelerationists in the country insisted that they must be destroyed without hesitation. Thus far, neither side has accomplished their goal, with both steward and accelerationist expedition teams going missing in the massive caverns created by the now-dead Zhaoshan. Day 9. Tempest. Automatons capable of powered flight were some of the last to be developed before the end of the War for Mankind. After the groundbreaking success of American inventors at the turn of the century, the technology spread throughout the world. By the 1910s, armed aerial vehicles were tested and deployed, but these machines had to be piloted by a human. It wasn't until 1917 that the first fully autonomous machines took to the skies to combat the great Goliath Katanga. These automatons, dubbed cloud cutters by their inventors, had many notable strengths, but also significant weaknesses. They moved quickly through the air, and could run on land as well. However, they were quite small, with a wingspan of just over 40 feet. They had to remain light enough to stay airborne, so they carried very limited weaponry. In truth, these earliest flighted automatons were designed as little more than distractions, keeping Katanga occupied and eventually goading it into destroying itself. Now, this challenge has been a lot of work. Making an illustration every day for an entire month is no easy feat. But if you want to learn some technical skills that might make art projects like this a little bit easier for you, you're going to love the sponsor of today's video, ArtWad. ArtWad is an online learning platform specifically designed to help artists of all skill levels grow and refine their art. ArtWad offers a huge variety of lessons that can help you tackle the fundamentals or hone your ability with more challenging, complicated subjects. ArtWad isn't just another collection of boring, uninteractive lectures, though. Instead, ArtWad makes learning fun with engaging, gamified lessons that can be completed directly on your computer or your tablet. No artist, myself included, is ever done learning. Recently, I created a free account and explored ArtWad's Intro to Environments course to buff up on my environmental work. Intro to Environments begins with a video lesson that helps you understand how to illustrate objects on a 3D plane, reducing the chaos of complex forms and figures to a simple perspective grid and uncomplicated shapes. The subsequent lessons prompt you to think carefully about how shapes are altered as they grow nearer or become further away, and reinforces good instincts for creating interesting compositions in dimensional space. As you progress through each course, you'll receive instant side-by-side feedback that makes it easy to identify your mistakes. Practicing without feedback can build bad habits. This way, your practice is actually productive. If you're overwhelmed by the plethora of subjects, ArtWad's free core is a great place to start. With a free account, you gain access to a pared-down offering of ArtWad's most popular courses. These subjects cover everything from figure work to environments to anime, and you can gain instant access to ArtWAD's Community Hub, which is one of my favorite ArtWAD features. The Community Hub is a really amazing resource for connecting with your fellow students to seek and receive critique. The Community Hub has built-in tools for providing red lines and to draw-overs, and also provides guidelines for leaving constructive feedback. Artists succeed together, and learning how to productively participate in critique is the other half of learning how to be a great artist. You can use our link in the description to try out ArtWAD's core plan for free. No cost, no risk, and so many valuable art skills to gain. Thank you so much to ArtWAD for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to Kaiju. Day 10. Abyss. Even during the era of the roiling revelry, some Goliaths from the war still remain, continuing to threaten the safety of all humans. In 1906, France and Great Britain sent fleets of warships across the Atlantic to provide aid to North America. All but one of these ships were lost. The survivors on board told of a Goliath so gargantuan that it was able to create a sinking vortex that pulled into its gaping maw every ship, human, and sea creature in its path. The alleged Goliath has never been properly documented, as any research team sent to investigate it has either returned empty-handed or not returned at all. International businesses, most of which are run and supported by stewards, push for the continued research and eventual destruction of Charybdis, as trade across the Atlantic has become an increasingly risky venture. On this matter, and few others, stewards and accelerationists are in agreement. Day 11. Psychic. Though the invention of the complex machines generally referred to as automatons was bred out of necessity, the significant decrease in Goliath attacks across the globe has led to major automaton manufacturers looking for a new market in which to sell their product. Consumer-grade automatons have become popular, much smaller machines that can handle chores around the house, as well as piloted machines designed for transportation. During a trade fair in 1922, a wealthy entrepreneur who had helped found the Aegis Initiative during the war presented his company's newest invention, a bizarre new piloted machine designed for personal protection against Goliath attacks. A singular, untrained pilot could enter a stasis chamber from which their mind would link telepathically with that of the machine. Suspended in an eerie green liquid, the pilot's dreamlike movements would be mirrored by the machine, controlling its arms, instructing it to hover in any direction, as well as operating a wide array of defensive weaponry. Accelerationists called it shamefully exclusionary, and criticized its exorbitant price point as a surefire way to ensure that only the rich survive. Many steward investors were hesitant to support the product as well, after the trade fair demonstration left the test pilot permanently comatose and the machine inoperable. Day 12. Mesa. From a royal in the arid deserts of the Arizona Territory in North America, a Goliath named Nechalda slowly emerged. On all fours, the behemoth stood at over 180 feet tall. When it reared up on its hind legs, it could block out the sun and cast a shadow that stretched for a mile. Native peoples from the Apache, Hopi, and Navajo tribes believed that the Goliath was an ancient spirit of the land, and brought it offerings in hopes that they might be spared its wrath. They were not. Spanish and American settlers believed it was a demon sent from the depths of hell, and fired their rifles and cannons in hopes that they might destroy it before it devoured them all. They did not. The survivor of Nechalda's initial onslaught sheltered themselves in Fort Bowie, where they were able to remain undetected by the Goliath until aid from the US government and abroad arrived, eventually bringing down the great beast. Fort Bowie has since been declared the capital of the newly formed sovereign state of Arizona, governed by former Apache, Mexican, and American leaders. Arizona's shared trauma from Nechalda's reign of terror has made it an accelerationist majority country. Day 13. Root. One of the smaller Goliaths recorded during the War for Mankind emerged from a royal near Bearsbraun in the depths of the Black Forest. At only 60 feet tall, the elusive Bearwurtson seemed to pose little threat to the surrounding human population. In fact, the Goliath remained undetected for several months before suddenly laying waste to a newly constructed automaton factory outside of Offenburg. A unit of armed soldiers and automatons were deployed into the forest to find and capture the Goliath, to no avail. A year later, the factory was reconstructed, only to be destroyed by Bearwurzen once again. This prompted German authorities to initiate a controlled burn of the Black Forest in a desperate attempt to smoke out the Goliath. This was met with significant resistance by the people of Germany and made headlines throughout the world. German lawmakers put an end to the fire and passed legislation prohibiting new construction within a 10-kilometer radius of the forest. In recent years, even accelerationists are hesitant to pursue Bearwurzen, as it has remained inactive somewhere within the depths of one of Europe's largest undeveloped natural expanses. Day 14. Umbral. Anonymous sources report that a recent attack on the city of Hyderabad was not, in fact, the work of an unidentified Goliath. According to survivors, a noiseless monster blacker than the night sky struck in the early hours of the morning, laying waste to a high-profile British automaton manufacturing facility in the southern end of the city. This monster was not described to resemble any living thing of flesh and bone, but rather a machine made to look like a monster. Though it moved silently, the light of the moon reflected off of its metal hide, and smoke billowed from exhaust vents on its back. Of course, no automaton manufacturer claimed responsibility for the attack. International news media has accused rival manufacturers, Indian revolutionaries, and both accelerationist and steward extremists. The mystery remains unsolved, but the people of the world hold their breath in horrified anticipation for another attack. So those are my submissions for week 2 of Kaijus 2026. Just a reminder that if you like my artwork and you would like to make artwork that kind of looks like my artwork, you can purchase all of the brushes that I use to make my artwork on our Gumroad. I'll link that down in the description. A purchase from you would help support the channel and help you make artwork like mine. Now, with my submissions from this week out of the way, let's have a look at some of our favorite fan submissions posted to our Unveil community page this week. This illustration was done for Day 9's prompt, Tempest, by user A Ghost Named Jay. They wrote, "She twirls and glides in the sky ever so elegantly, but in turn creates storm clouds. Though she is known as a beautiful harbinger of doom, she seems unaware of the terror she brings. Many assume that she's sent down from a sky god to rain punishment upon the mortals below. Thankfully, she's a rare sight." They also included this artist's note. Fun facts. Inspired by storm clouds, the sky, and manta rays. I wanted her to look misleading and appear more like sparkling water and ice crystals instead of a straight-up storm cloud, almost like a blue sky before the storm. She has 6 eyes which resemble gills and raindrops. Up next, we have a piece done by user DuskM for Day 10's prompt, Abyss. They included this artist's note with their submission. I'll say initially that I had no idea what to do for this day. My mind was blank. Over time, the only tangible thing was to do what I think many thought, a big fish from the deep, but no, that is not how I see Abyss. The Abyss is a constant, always with a beginning, but never an end, a twisted spiral of incomprehensible nothingness that consumes not only your body, but your very soul. Hope this captures even a fraction of what I'm trying to say, and I think the design is cool. I really like this piece done by user Boss Xander for Day 7's prompt, Primal. Titled Comagron, they wrote this to accompany their submission. In the year 1899, many settlements around the Yangtze River Basin experienced a mysterious dread. Multiple individuals, mainly fishermen and children who went out on the riverbanks, started to disappear. As months went by, the number of missing villagers plummeted. The citizens still didn't know what caused the sudden disappearances, causing massive panic and superstitions. Many started to avoid the water, while other settlers abandoned their villages entirely. Many believed that the cause of these disappearances was a river spirit seeking vengeance on humans that keep defiling its water. However, they didn't know that the real reason for these incidents was a giant amphibian like Goliath that lurks on the river and streams. Because of its hefty bulk and soft, vulnerable skin, this Goliath rarely leaves the water, but if it does, it is mainly at night. Its main hunting method is by flashing its bright patterns to lure its victims to go near the water, putting them in a trance-like state. Then it will use its frog-like tongue to grip its prey underwater, and that will be its victim's final moments. Finally, user Sapphire Gold created the Great Galewing for Day 9's prompt Tempest. They wrote this lore in addition to their illustration. The Great Galewing is one of the 2 high wings to have emerged from the royals in central Ethiopia. Its powers consist of weather manipulation, allowing it to bring on floods and intense tempests. For a period of time, the Galewing remained undisturbed in the African deserts, using its powers to bring unnaturally large rainfall to the area. However, accelerationist forces deemed the Galewing as a threat by disrupting the natural ecosystems of Africa, and mobilized forces to capture both the Great Galewing and its counterpart, the Great Scorchwing. Following the capture of the High Wings, the accelerationist forces attempted to modify both High Wings in an attempt to control them, and hopefully use them as a weapon against other Goliaths emerging from the royals. However, the experiment on the Galewing was unsuccessful, and it managed to flee from the accelerationist facility when its soul was undergoing extraction. Although the Great Galewing emerged weaker than before, its powers should not be underestimated, and it often clashes with a mysterious new High Wing that resides near the Pacific Ring of Fire. It is suspected that this High Wing, dubbed the Great Void Wing, has been experimented on by accelerationist forces. As of now, the Great Galewing has seemed to settle down in Southeast Asia, bringing about unnaturally heavy rain. Additionally, it seems to be much more wary towards any sort of vessel passing through its territory, oftentimes sweeping the ship or plane into the air with strong winds. I hope you all enjoyed this week of Kaijus 2026. To all of you participating in the challenge, keep up the great work. You've done amazing so far. For those of you eagerly awaiting more world building and story for the Roiling Revelry, don't worry, we still got 2 more weeks of Kaijus left. Another big thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Artwad. Be sure to use the link in the description to try Artwad's core plan for free. And an even bigger thank you to our Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members. Challenges like Kaijus are made possible with your support. Enjoy the start of summer, everyone. I will see you all in the next video.